Hello, everybody. Mark with Kardashev Academy here, and you didn't think I was done with reaction and analysis entirely, did you? No. If you're new to the channel, I'm going to leave that in. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're not new, but you're coming back, welcome back. It's great to have you here. Happy you're here. And today, we're going to do what I've done for so long, which is reaction and vocal analysis. For those of you who this may be your first video, my name is Mark. I'm a full-time vocal coach. I teach people how to do stuff like safely and efficiently so they don't hurt themselves. I've been a metal vocalist myself in a band called Kardashev for a long time. And we're going to check out Lamb of God. I don't know if I've covered Lamb of God on the channel before, to be honest with you. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. My memory is not very good. But one of the people who edits my videos, Ludo, what up, homie? He recently, like 10 minutes ago, reached out and said, hey, this video is only a couple days old. You should check it out. And, Randy is an iconic vocalist. So let's go ahead. Let's get into it. Let's check out, I don't even know what it is called, Into Oblivion. Let's check out Into Oblivion, Lamb of God. Now let's just go ahead. Okay, cool. I let the song play for a lot longer than I usually do, but there are a couple reasons for that. First and foremost, it sounds like Randy. I mean, this is a vocal channel, so of course that's who we're going to be mostly talking about. It sounds like a couple of things. First and foremost, he's always been a vocalist with a bit of that pitch sound in his voice, right? And what I was going to say earlier is that he and I. Our vocals are very different. So when I give you examples today, I'm going to be using metal vocal techniques that I know how to use, that I use predominantly. Now, I've taught people how to scream like him before, even though his screams aren't exactly my thing. But I'm going to be using the sounds that I make because those are the sounds that I make. Now, so he's been a vocalist who has always had a little bit of that pitch underneath his voice. And I think that lends very well to the type of metal that they do, right? At the beginning, we had this like almost breakdown, which I thought was kind of cool. And then we got, and I was like, there they are. There's Lamb of God, right? And I think like many people, Ashes of the Wake was their first album. That was my first album. But I also let it play a little bit longer because there's some extra crunch on his voice. There are some extra effects. Now, I'm not an audio producer, so I can tell you exactly what they are. And this isn't me calling anybody out. I think they sound really cool. I think that they sit nicely. Just kind of like trying to listen through it a bit extra to hear what I'm hearing. And one thing I really like about this song is, a lot of us know that Randy is an iconic vocalist. We've known this for a long time because he's been at this for a long time. And he's doing some things right off the bat that really like plant his Randy. Now, some people say his last name is Bly. Until you can show me a clip where he pronounces it that way, I'm saying Blythe. But once I see the clip, once I'm presented with new information that's verifiable, I will change my ways. But until then, he's Blythe to me. But there are a couple things, right? So first is so much of this comes down to vocal tract shaping, and we'll talk more about that later. But one of the big things that he does is this like big scooping wow, right? So, this wow, right? And he has like this very specific, one of the reasons I love his voice so much is he's got this very specific staticky, crispy, crunchy sound that still has like a level of like wetness and aggression to it. It's not this perfectly cleaned up fry tone. It's not this like super chunky, loose false chord tone. It's like this scream that he's I know he worked with Melissa Cross a lot. I don't know if he's worked with anybody else. And then he also has these very forward, downward, like these narrative, like, you know, pray, I saw pray, right? And he's moving through those things very, very smoothly. And I think that this is, I'm just gonna say this and we're gonna get back to the song. This is one thing about his voice I want you to listen to. I want you to listen to how much power he has in his voice. And when I say power, I'm not necessarily talking about how much he's pressing against his vocal cords. I'm not talking about how much he's pressing into these supraglottal tissues that we use to make these, but I'm talking about the way he delivers his voice, the way he shapes the tone, the boominess, right? The stack of frequencies that we get, and how he moves through all those places very, very, very seamlessly, right? His voice is very nimble, right? Very nimble. Let's keep going though. Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry about that hard cut. All my stuff just froze a little bit, but I don't want to start the video over. So here we go. Okay, so I want to rein it a little bit in a little bit, and I want to talk to you what I mean when I'm saying vocal tract shaping, right? So when I'm talking about vocal tract shaping, what I'm saying is not just that your vocal tract can change shape. We all know that. That's how we make different sounds. Those are all the result of my vocal cords vibrating in different ways and at different lengths and thicknesses. And then the shape that sound travels through with my tongue and my lips and the top of my throat and my soft palate and all this. So one of the best one of the things you might run into, and I just put a video kind of talking about this. It's going up today, although this video that I'm recording now is probably going to come out like Wednesday or something, maybe Tuesday. I don't know. But one of the things I talk about is how oftentimes we learn metal vocal styles in isolated silos, right? And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. You learn your guttural, then you learn your high, then you learn your mid, right? And these things don't always stitch together well. Well, we need a way to learn how to do that. And one of my favorite ways to do that, in a way that you can get this like really bendy, open, wide sort of delivery that Randy has here, is by getting rid of the distortion entirely and finding 3 placements, right? Now, I'm a big fan of forward, masky, twangy placements for my mids and highs, and a front of the mouth kind of lippy resonance for my lows. So for example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my lips together. I'm going to drop my jaw. I'm going to make a lot of space. And that's the first thing I'm focused on. I'm not too worried about my larynx dropping. It's okay if it drops a little bit, but I'm not a big, I don't do a lot of like of my larynx when I do my lows. I like to create the low more in the mouth than in my throat. But I have this right, and then as I get to the mid space, I move to more of an open, right, kind of open, kind of twangy, like a stereotypical, like, I don't know if anybody in New York actually talks like this or if it's just TV. I've never been there before, but like, hey, I'm walking here, huh? And then as I go higher, so hey, I'm walking here. Hey, yeah, wow, that's crazy, man. Yeah, right? And the reason I like these places is because once you learn how to do it, it's low effort. Okay, then you stitch them together with like your typical, it's a very common singing exercise where you do like a slide, you do like an air raid, but you do it with these like quote unquote metal vocal placements, which are just exaggerated sounds that you wouldn't actually want to use in a clean singing voice. Like, I don't think you'd get any auditions if you were like, hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Hello, my ragtime gal. But it's really useful for certain vocals, right? So we just do a slide through these places once we have them individually. Then we're basically training, we're allowing our vocal tract to kind of understand what it means to move through. And over time, you can move back and forth. And this bendiness, it's a very like, again, I'm using a different scream, but it's a very randy sound. That took a little longer than I had anticipated. So let's get back to the song and then I'll talk at you some more. But I'm interested to hear, this is a short song, 3 minutes and 40 seconds. This might be a shorter video. Usually my videos are like 25 to 30 minutes long. Maybe not. Let's keep going.
Retreating into a well-polished lie, you turn away while averting your eyes. Suppression, aggression, when fiction and real life collide. You have known me by a different name. I am the watcher outside the frame. I am the bringer of the truth of which you ran into oblivion. The bringer of the truth from which you ran, infecting everything you've done into oblivion.
She got snagged. So, yeah, okay, we're basically in. So I want to build on the vocal tract shaping thing. Another thing that's important to understand is, and this is one thing about Randy that I really like, is that we also have to have an understanding of balance of pressure. And when I'm talking about balance of pressure, what I'm talking about is how much we are pressing into the sound with our abdominal muscles and how much we are resisting the airflow with our tissues, right? Generally, we want our distortion to be on what's called the supraglottal tissues, which are the tissues above the vocal folds. And part of the reason for this is they can just take the heat a little bit better, right? Your vocal cords, they're very thin, they're delicate. The tissues above, I mean, the whole reason we have those tissues above the vocal folds is for them to close and protect our airway when we swallow or we eat food, or to brace pressure, right, when we're picking something up. And to make this happen effectively, especially if we're going to be sliding around, and especially if we're going to be, utilizing our voice, we have to have a good balance of pressure. And one thing that a lot of new vocalists will do is they'll either really breathe hard through their vocals. So they'll have like this, right? You see this face a lot when people are doing this. And there's just so much press of air going through there. Then other times what you'll hear is you'll hear vocalists really just holding back the air as much as they can. They have like this, and I'm not going to give too many examples of this because it's very uncomfortable, but you have like this, oh, hey, try to fly, and you can hear that you can kind of get a sound with that. But if you're not closing up in the right space and you're putting too much pressure underneath it, it's going to get taxing pretty quickly. So how can we get an idea of what it feels like? Well, one thing is true for a lot of screams, and it's that the amount that we need to lean into them is different, right? For example, if I do something really low and deep, I press in, but not like a ton. And the reason for that is I want that chunky, gurgly sound. And I just amplify it with my mouth and toss a compressor on it, right? If I'm doing like a high vocal, there's a lot more press because it's a lot more closed up in the back. But even then, it's not to a degree where I feel like my head's going to explode, where I feel like this bulging in my neck. So what's the commonality? If maybe not all, if many screams require a different amount of pressure, and if you are a big fan of Randy here and you want to slide through your screams, what's the commonality? Well, there's a sensation that gets spoken about a lot, and it's called, some people call it like riding on the top of the breath. That phrase has been used a couple different ways. Holding your breath. One thing that I like to have my students do is I like to have them, and you can do this along here, right? So first thing, this is just your clean voice. What you're going to do is you're going to go, hey. Now, hey. The second one was obviously a better tone, and I asked them which one feels the closest to, not exactly like, but the closest to holding your breath. And it's this one. Right there, right there like this. There's this sensation of I'm not fighting my breath, but I'm almost holding it a little bit. And this is a sensation that's very common amongst many types of screams, especially your fry screams, right? Fries become kind of an umbrella, but any scream where you're holding things out, even like a really loose false chord mid. Hey, people! Hey, I have this sensation of slightly holding my breath. Right? I've got a little bit of that sensation. So how can we practice that balance? Honestly, for a student that has a lot of tension, one thing I do is we take a healthy, what I call vacation breath. We think about what we would do if we were on an all expenses paid vacation anywhere in the world, right? Oops, ow. So let's say I would say Japan. So let's say I'm in Japan and I'm walking around and there's this restaurant. Ooh, some delicious food, right? I'm going to take a breath in. And at this point, my student knows that their ribs should expand. Their abdominal muscles should expand. We're not pushing them out or forcing them out. They're opening up naturally. They're soft and squishy, right? And then we just talk with that breath. We just talk with that breath and we think about the sensation of where we want it to buzz and what it feels like for those ribs to stay open. Now, with this, our goal is to not get to a point where our vocal cords are pressed and squeezing and we're running out of air, right? Then we take whatever scream that we're doing and we try to like set it beside that and see if we can get a similar sensation, right? And obviously, in a lesson, I'm not just like, let's hope for the best. I'm giving them ways to do this. But so my ribs, when I was talking on top of that breath, they were open. My abdominal muscles were a little bit squeezed, but not so much. They weren't coming in like crazy. So I'm going to try to simulate that, right? So let's do that with just a false chord mid, generally the airiest of the vocals, right? So I'm going to breathe in. And my focus is for my ribs to stay open. And also for my abdominal muscles not to squeeze too much, not to collapse, but to engage, right? And it's a similar sensation. So those are my thoughts about that. The other thing I want to talk about, which I really enjoy in this song, is how, and I don't think this is the first time he's done this. It's been a long time since I listened to Lamb of God, but I don't think this is the first time he's done this. He was using like this really powerful, gritty voice on a melody. I don't remember exactly what the melody was. Downside of the first time listen. But interestingly enough, it was kind of a chesty voice, right? Hey, right around there, maybe here, maybe there, right? And he had grit in these places. One of the best things you can do to kind of play around with getting grit in those areas is, again, I'm kind of talking about, there's a theme for today's video, I'm just noticing, but hey, that's how it goes. Start with your clean voice. Get comfortable utilizing your voice and being on pitch without the distortion, right? And one thing you can do is you can just do like simple slides. And you want to think about not like singing so much as calling out to somebody, hey, 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 yo, Jimmy, hey. If I just call out to somebody, hey, yo, Jimmy, what's up, man? How you doing? Yeah, good to see you, right? What if I just hold that? Hey, yo, Jimmy, hey. Then once you have that, you can start thinking about adding your distortion to it. Now, me being like in my mid-range, mostly a false chord guy, I'm going to go for that. That's the way I'm going to do it, right? But what we do is we just add a little bit. And at first, by the way, if you sound like a cartoon character, right? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. You can shape it up later. But if like sometimes when I show this example, people say like Krusty the Krab or James Hetfield. Well, he's not a cartoon character. He's a real person. But that's okay. That's okay. Starting off with a sort of goofy cartoon character voice that's light and playful and relaxed, not a bad way to start. So if I take this, hey, 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 whoa, hey, now I'm getting somewhere, yeah, right? So we can do that. And our goal is, again, to focus on where we feel it and not feeling like we're fighting against the airflow, right? Ribs are open, abdominal muscles are engaged, vocal cords pressed down. But anyways, so this video, I talked mostly about vocal advice, less on song analysis, and my apologies. That's just where I'm working on a project, and that's just where my mind is. But if you like a lot of what Randy does, and you want to kind of incorporate it into your vocal repertoire, maybe you scream exactly like he does. Maybe you do something a lot more fry forward. Maybe you do something a lot more false chord forward like me. It doesn't really matter because a lot of the characterization of somebody's voice isn't just the type of scream that they're doing, but it's the way that they deliver it, right? And Randy has this relaxed movement across his lows, mids, and highs. He's got that slight pitch underneath it, right? Which we can train by getting comfortable with our normal voice first and then kind of putting whatever distortion we want on top of it. And then this bendy articulation, this wow, whoa, blah, right sort of sound. So these are some guidelines where if you like what you hear in this space, you can approach it by bringing those in. And it really works. This scream where we can hear pitch with these sort of like sort of bendy, sort of like, somebody's gonna say I've got the genre wrong, and I probably do, but I want to say like Southern rock inspired vibes. I mean, they have a song called Redneck, for God's sakes, so I don't think it's too much of a stretch. I think the vocal style really, really works. Overall, song's very catchy. We've got our hook, we've got a great chorus. I dig it. So anyways, that's about it. Hopefully this was helpful to you. Interesting to see what else they come up with. That's all I got. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Many thanks. Much love. I'm out.